Hey everybody, Josh Sigurdson, a World Alternative Media here in the middle of Greece, near Argos, at the Pyramid of Hellenikon, a place few have actually heard of. This site is dated to be older than any pyramid in Egypt. Don't go anywhere, history is being made. The Pyramid of Hellenikon is one of the most mysterious and contested pyramids in the world. This site is located about 9 kilometers from Argos, Greece, one of the oldest continuously inhabited cities in the world. The site behind me appears to change everything we thought we knew about pyramids, Greek and Egyptian influence, and ancient civilizations living in Europe. This site lays along the ancient road between Argos and Tegea. For a long time, it was dated around the 4th century BC, as is the time frame given to almost all Greek sites, if not more recent. While the dating has changed, it's always funny to see people stick to such exact time frames, discounting even the most in-your-face evidence if it doesn't match that sacred timeline. It's kind of like how one is not allowed to dare date a structure before 3000 BC because that's the date people have been told was the dawn of ancient civilizations. And like Simon says, people repeat it, and if you say it enough times, people will believe it. We will get back to the pyramid in a moment, but first, I must add, we've been told for centuries that primitive people with no background in building, technology, or culture threw down their spears around 3000 BC and built Stonehenge, followed by the most incredible structures in human history, like the pyramids of Egypt. Millions of incredibly heavy stones, no evidence of tools in the ground except for a few rather useless, ineffective, rusted iron and bronze tools, designed to mathematical pi and phi with the ability to concentrate electromagnetic frequency and energy through the limestone and granite structure to the top of the structure. How crazy is that? So these primitive people could do this, but we still cannot match their wits today with all of our technology. Following these structures, architecture slowly got more and more primitive. Academics shrugged it off for years because they found a few useful assumptions to fit their viewpoints for 200 or more years and have been repeating those ridiculous bullet points ever since, refusing to accept that there may have been another advanced civilization handing down information over the 300,000 years humans have been alive, rather than simply in the last 5,000 years. Anyways, with the finding of Gobekli Tepe in the 1990s, everything changed. A massive megalithic complex that dwarfs Stonehenge and predates Stonehenge by about 7,000 years. Situated in Turkey, this massive hill of T-shaped megaliths with incredibly astrological symbolism cut into the stone was built and buried over and over again. No one knows why. By the way, I'll be heading to Gobekli Tepe later in the month to investigate it among countless other sites in Turkey. Any contributions are really appreciated. Anyways, the site pushed back the known date of ancient civilizations thousands of years to the Younger Dryas Period. One would think that your local mainstream academic Zahi Hawass type would give in and say, oh, there's incredible evidence of ancient civilizations possessing amazing abilities thousands of years before Stonehenge. There are probably more examples, end quote. But instead, most mainstream academics simply shrugged and said, okay, there's one place, but it was probably built somehow by hunter-gatherers. So now the story is, people who couldn't even farm threw down their spears, built a massive stone megalithic site, burying it over and over again for no known reason, decided to pick up their spears and forget how to build structures for another 6,000 to 7,000 years, and then throw down their spears again to build the most impressive structures humanity has ever comprehended. How ridiculous is that? This stubbornness is truly hurting our ability to investigate and find answers to humanity's greatest mysteries. Every single ancient civilization had the same flood story that goes back to around the time of the Younger Dryas period, from Egypt to China, Babylon to Jerusalem, India to the Incas, Aztecs, Mayans, and Olmecs in the Americas. There are more than 600 great flood stories around the world, and we cannot forget the Greek legends of Atlantis, which also dates to the period of the Younger Dryas period, alongside Noah, Gilgamesh, and hundreds of other incredibly similar stories. All of the ancient gods apparently lived in this era as well. Could they have just been advanced people who were deified as legend as time went by? This is a reasonable thing to ask, especially considering the fact that we've found out in recent years that indeed there was a great flood. The Younger Dryas period did exist. The Earth was ravaged by flood, fire, meteors, and possibly plasma bursts for thousands of years. It was hellish. The mainstream laughed off the Younger Dryas hypothesis until the last 10 years, when it was definitively proven. So here we are at the Pyramid of Hellenikon. The original dating of around the 4th century came about in the 1930s, though ceramics were found dating back as far as 2800 BC. The style of the cyclopean-like walls of the pyramid were largely ignored despite not being similar to classical Greek architecture. The Greeks were said to have a profound interest in Egypt, as we see among ancient Roman and even American governance structures today. I mean, Atlantis was a sort of empire that Egypt became the child of in later years, according to Plato and Solon. So the notion of the pyramid being older than any of the pyramids of Egypt would be shocking, to say the least, and would completely change everything we know about the influences of cultures and technology of the ancients. Well, in comes more interesting information. Ioannis Liritzis, a professor of physics and archaeology who currently works as a professor of natural sciences at the University of Agen, having studied and worked at places like Oxford University, took a team to the Hellinikon pyramid some years ago and made an astounding discovery. Using thermoluminescence dating, his team argued that the Hellinikon pyramid was far older than people had originally thought. They argued as follows. 1. Geophysical prospection inside and around the pyramid where buried monuments were discovered. 2. These results directed the archaeological excavations carried out by archaeologist A. Sampson and archaeologists of the Archaeological Museum of Nafplio. Amongst the new finds were foundations of room ceramics of classic Hellenistic, Roman, and Proto-Christian periods, and Pro-Hellenic II in the exterior foundations of Hellinikon above the bedrock. A comparative study of masonries was also made. 3. Astronomical orientation of the long entrance corridor was found related to the rise of Orion's belt occurring in 2000 to 2400 BC. 4. The dating of some parts of the overlying large megalithic blocks in the wall with the novel thermoluminescence dating method of rock surfaces. Sampling was chosen for their firmness and lack of sun exposure of internal contact surfaces by removing a few milligrams of powder from pieces in firm contact. 7 pieces gave an age range of circa 2000 to 2500 BC, while 2 ceramic sherds of non-diagnostic typology, one from Hellinikon and one from Ligurio, dated by TL and OSL, gave concordant ages of 3000 plus or minus 200 BC and 660 plus or minus 200 BC, respectively. This time frame would place construction of these structures at a time overlapping the construction of the pyramids in Egypt. These discoveries have left many archaeologists scrambling to discount the claims without actually providing any counterpoints to their methodology. Mary Lefkowitz claimed that they probably just use rocks from older structures in their construction, but provides zero evidence and doesn't explain how the structure was astrologically aligned and how the stones fit together so incredibly well. A. Sampson claimed that the site was too sophisticated and that the masonry somehow proves it is from the classic period. That the dating going back to the 4th and 3rd millennium simply cannot be accepted because it's so far back. Imagine your argument being, no, that's too early. We've been told so-and-so for 200 years, so that's the way it shall stay. And damn anyone who disagrees, even if they have all of the evidence in the world to prove their point. I would like to add, thank God for people like Professor Ioannis Liritzis for actually taking the obvious astrological alignment into account. And here again we see a connection to Orion, which the Egyptians were of course obsessed with. The great pyramids at Giza perfectly align with Orion's belt, and Orion was the home of their god Osiris. Anyways, here we see many academics refusing almost outright emotionally the notion of an older site, acting as though the dating of the structure from the 1930s and 80s must be better than the latest dating, which makes a really good case, by the way. Even if they're off by 1,000 years in the most recent studies, it would still change everything most people thought they knew about ancient Greece. The walls of this pyramid are phenomenal and stand out from other structures I've seen in Greece, outside of the also anomalous site of the fortified wall around the Pnyx, which I recently reported on, with jigsaw-like precision cuts on rocks that are absolutely massive. One strange phenomenon that you notice on the ground at the Hellinikon pyramid is that there are very few stones on the ground inside the pyramid. Most of the fallen stones are on the outside of the pyramid, which seems to go against the laws of gravity if a pyramid is to collapse. Many of the stones are many yards away, as if thrown from the structure from some kind of force within the pyramid. But I did not see any explosive evidence within the pyramid. I would add that this could be the result of vast vandalism of the site. Early excavators had ripped out the floor of the inner pyramid, exposing the soil. It helped them find artifacts, but it severely damaged the integrity of the structure. The excavators could have taken the fallen stones out of the pyramid and placed them outside, though some stones are very far from the structure. I think it's fair to note both possibilities for the sake of consideration. Now, I totally encourage this site to be dated once again. I do not have the resources or background to do it personally, but one thing is absolutely for sure. This site is beautiful and deserves more attention. It is incredibly important to add more context to the surrounding area near the pyramid. Not only was nearby Argos considered an important place for Egyptian shipping, but also, according to legends, thousands of years old, Argos' port town of Nafplio, which I had stayed in while covering the pyramid, was thought to have been founded in an ancient epoch by Egyptians. Being in an excellent location for a port and also having a perfect 360-degree view of the surrounding area by the mountain the Palamidi Castle now stands on, as well as being quite close to Athens, this location would be great for seasteading ancient Egyptians. Ancient Greek traveler Pausanias wrote in the 1st century that Nafplians were Egyptians belonging to the colony which Danaus brought to Argos, and from the position of their city upon a promontory running out into the sea, which is quite different from the site of the earlier Grecian cities, it is not improbable that it was originally a settlement made by strangers from the east. The town of Nafplio was also mentioned in an ancient Egyptian funerary inscription of Amenophis III as Nuplia. So all the more fitting that we find the Pyramid of Hellenikon only 22 minutes away by car from the town. Is anyone else starting to put together some puzzle pieces? One more thing about Nafplio. The town also appears to have a few cyclopean polygonal walls that have been incorporated into later Venetian and Ottoman walls. Truly a stunning place if anyone is interested in visiting a less tourist-filled town in Greece. There have been a recurring series of events lately that, in my opinion, has been incredibly beneficial to understanding our past here in Greece. There have been countless new discoveries over the last decade that predate ancient Greece, that give more credence to the notion of the ancient Greeks utilizing already existing structures and spaces as sacred or important in one way or another in their time. Deifying legend passed down throughout the ages, which I'll get further into in a moment. By the way, I want to add that the main theories behind the site are that it was used to send smoke signals or was used as a guard tower. How ridiculous! Why go through the trouble of building such a sophisticated site only to use it to send smoke signals or have some dude stand on top and look at the horizon all day? You can build a wooden structure that doesn't stand out as much to do the same task. Those two theories are seriously the most popular, and it makes one seriously question how professional these so-called experts really are. Another theory is that it was used to bury bodies of soldiers as well as perhaps used as a temple. Greek traveler Pausanias first theorized this in the 2nd century AD. It's another example of assumption turned into fact, kind of like how facts are gradually turned into myths over long periods of time. So here we go again, assuming every single significant site was used as either a tomb or temple. Like the ancients only comprehended burying dead bodies and building buildings to worship in. I mean, they could be right, but the assumption is really getting annoying. That's literally the assumption about every massive megalithic site in the world, and usually there's absolutely no evidence to back up the claim. In recent days, stories have been fluctuating quite significantly regarding Discolio, a pyramid-shaped island emerging from the water near Chios. I've been in contact with one of the head researchers, and it's absolutely stunning, though I'm not legally allowed to go there as of yet, but I certainly plan to in the future. The site predates ancient Greece, and there's evidence people were building and developing on this small ancient island as far back as 4000 BC. Ancients brought over 1,000 tons of white stone, mostly marble, to the site in order to make the island look larger and terraced. They brought the stone from more than 10 kilometers away. Now let's make this more clear to everyone. 1,000 tons is 2 million pounds. This is in a time where, according to most historians, people were quite primitive. There were also many incredibly sophisticated metal artifacts found at the site. This, too, connects Greece with Egypt and also capitalizes on the legend surrounding the Greeks' love for marble, utilized in countless classical structures, most notably the astrologically aligned Parthenon in Athens, among other massive feats. Professor Colin Renfrew, who has been one of the most important people behind the project to investigate Discolio, told me that he's working on getting the site open to the public in the next year. I should add, I just casually emailed him. I doubt he subscribes to my views, but nonetheless, he's doing great work. So here we have two major examples of sites that predate ancient Greece, also apparently connecting the two sites to Egypt. Were the Egyptians actually inspired to build pyramids by the Greeks? Not likely, but more likely, both civilizations were inspired to build pyramids by those who came before them. Perhaps a great, vast ancient civilization deified by the ages. Information passed down by great men who less sophisticated people saw as gods. The technology continuously got worse as time went on, and the sophistication of the structures dwindled with each century. How does a civilization have the greatest technologies and abilities at the beginning of their inception, and then by the end of their run, their structures revert from the Great Pyramids to piles of loose stone and rubble? It's a ridiculous concept that few think about. Was Osiris, Utnapishtim, Quetzalcoatl, and Zeus real people or groups of people that were influential and seen as godlike for their more advanced abilities, deified by less sophisticated people for the history books to account as myth, like Homer's Troy until it was found in Turkey? By the way, new archaeological evidence proves that the formerly mythical city of Troy may be far older than previously believed, but I digress. Could these gods have been real people with technological abilities? Zeus possessing electricity, Poseidon and his ability to trek the sea, Hercules and his strength, Hermes and his ability to travel and trade, and we can't forget about Atlas. Think about it. Is it so far-fetched? If you walk into an untouched primitive hunter-gatherer community and started playing with your cell phone, would they not freak out? Would they not share stories about you? Now imagine building the pyramids. Ancient civilizations are not exactly the same, but they pass down close enough stories on hundreds of occasions. It is a stretch to say that that's coincidence. But again, they're not exactly the same. They're just really close. If the civilizations of 5,000 years ago all had contact with each other, the stories would be the same, would they not? Could it be that ancient game of telephone I've spoken of so many times? A helping hand passing down knowledge? If it's the end of the world and you're a technologically capable person, you don't hang around the cities, you go to the hunter-gatherers, as they will be far more capable of surviving and keeping you alive as well. You pass down your knowledge, and next thing you know, you're Zeus or Ra or Viracocha. As for the Pyramid of Hellenikon, it's far from the only example here in Greece, but I figured it was important to report on. I am not saying a lost ancient civilization built it. I'm saying most likely a more capable civilization built it, but obviously the time frame doesn't date back from what we know so far to the last ice age, alongside all of these other examples like Gobekli Tepe and the dating of the water erosion around the Sphinx's enclosure in Egypt. It doesn't stretch back to the legends of Atlantis or the stories of Noah's Ark and the Younger Dryas Period. But it does, however, completely change what so many of us thought we knew about the origins of ancient civilizations. If the Pyramid of Hellenikon was built pre-dynastic Egypt or even during dynastic Egypt, that sets the clock back on ancient Greece and also is a complete slap in the face of the mainstream archaeological community, which all too often stubbornly enforces their belief system as if religious rather than accept new ideas and try to dissect them. At the very least, this site raises questions. It tells people, no, you do not know everything, and perhaps it's time to rethink your belief system. It forces us to ask more questions, and with each answer comes even more questions, and that's exactly the way it should be. That's a rabbit hole, ladies and gentlemen. And that's how we find the truth. And of course, that's how we can be the change. It's vastly important to try and understand ancient history in order to learn from it and try our best not to repeat it. What were pyramids used for? Why do we see them all over the world throughout ancient civilizations? Where did the technology go? Who were these similar gods every culture that built these sites worshipped? What do we not know about our own past? Cultures, technology, cataclysm. Are there people that hold this information? Are there people out there hiding the true reality of our existence, our past, our future? Is our science just a religion of people desperately searching for confirmation bias? What do you think? Anyways, thanks for watching, everyone. I will be going to Turkey later this month to investigate some incredible sites. And I also hope to visit Iraq, Iran, Lebanon, Egypt, Peru, Bolivia, and sites in many other countries in the near future. Any help in raising funds to report on the sites most are unwilling to venture is truly appreciated. I do this for all of you, and trust me, it is not lucrative, it's quite the opposite, but I think it's incredibly important to step out of your comfort zone and investigate such important sites while they still stand. You can find the links to help out below the video in the description and the comments. Stay tuned for more, everyone. I'm sitting on a lot of videos right now, and I'm looking forward to bringing them to you. This is Josh Sigurdson signing out from World Alternative Media. Find the truth, be the change. Like what you see here, OM? Don't forget to check the links below. GoFundMe, Patreon. We can't do it without you. Any donation is very much appreciated, as we are so heavily demonetized and shadow banned to a crazy extent. We have lost about 80% of our reach since the beginning of this year as they rip away subscribers, etc. It has gotten out of control, and it's becoming more and more difficult to stay alive here on World Alternative Media, bringing you guys free content every day. You can also check our Bitcoin address in the description, as well as on the screen for you to scan if you please. And also check us out on all these other alternatives like Subscribestar, where we are doing subscriber only content for people at the $4.99 US a month tier and up. We really appreciate it. You could tip us on there and pledge anything, but from $4.99 and up, we are giving people subscriber only content that you won't find here on YouTube. And speaking of YouTube, there are so many alternatives for YouTube these days, including BitChute, which we are on at World Alternative Media, as well as, of course, the new flote.app, flote.app, where they are truly replacing all of these social medias, including Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Tumblr, Reddit, and of course, Twitch and Patreon, all in one place, and it is truly incredible what they are doing. We are moving over there in mass, as well as BitChute, BitTube, Steemit at Josh Sigurdson, all those other places, as well as PocketNet. We are on as well at World Alternative Media. There's so many options today, and we're trying to get into as many of them as possible because we need to back ourselves up. We are winning this information war, but we are getting to a point where they are cracking down more desperately than ever, and we got to do whatever we can to stay alive, as it's getting more and more difficult all the time. We also have events coming up, including Anarchadelphia 2019, which will be in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania in September. Check out thestateofanarchy.com and anarchadelphia.com. Linked below, use promo code WAM, W-A-M, and save 10% on your tickets to this amazing conference, as anarchy is going viral. Also, make sure to check out the Winnipeg Crypto Conference in October. Also, use promo code WAM, another great event with amazing speakers, and of course, Anarchapulco, the one and only, in February 2020, which you can also use promo code WAM for WAM and save 10%. There's so many things that you can do to help independent media, including just pressing like, sharing, clicking the notification button, doing whatever you can to help keep this free information alive that's alternative to the mainstream. Anyway, until next time, thanks for watching, everyone. This is Josh Sigurdson signing out from World Alternative Media. Find the truth, be the change.
I'm sure you have already changed people's minds in your young age because you're involved, and I like that.